Guys, just want to pop in and kind of like give a little advice, pay it forward. Um, Today we're just gonna talk about the way that I edit because I'm actually doing it right now, and I feel like the way that I do it would be a little more informational for people like myself. Um, so I'm very chaotic. I am the master of procrastination. I will literally do anything to not edit, um, or to not do anything. But I'll still do it. Like I'll still get to the deadline. But I'm a procrastination person. And my brain is always going in 45 different directions. So, yeah, I can never stay in one place. But so when I came down to editing, I recognized that my brain was going in 72 different directions, so I have to analyze it and edit the way that works for me. It's not going to work for everybody. I think a lot of people edit differently. This is the way that I do it. So, I edit actually at least four times. It's four times intentionally. I may do it a little bit more than that, but four times intentionally. So, the first time I edit as myself. Okay, so that allows me to clean up any grammatical errors, to check for accuracy, to do little things like that. Check for grammar, spelling, all that type of stuff. Um, so I'm not really paying attention to the story at that point, right? The second time I read as a reader, and I ask myself questions like, okay, can the reader see this? Can Do they understand why this is happening, or am I just expecting them to read on mine? Do they know where I am? Am I referencing things enough? Am I going back to these stories? So it's just when you read as a reader, you ask yourselves these questions so that you can take on the view of, okay, this is what the reader is probably experiencing while they're reading my stuff. So, and I do clean up a couple different things. The third time I read as another author, so which means I'm extremely critical. I'm extremely critical when it comes to editing. So I tackle everything that I ask myself in the second round in taking across any edits. And then I think to myself as an author, okay, like, am I gonna have like an attitude? I'm just gonna be like, oh, well, you can just tell. Like, sometimes a lot of authors can be a little more, what's a nice word to use for it? I don't know. They can be kind of rude. So that's the best way I could really think about saying that. They can be a little rude, so you kind of want to just be a little more finicky with the third read. You kind of just want to just read over everything. And again, clean up any additional grammatical errors that you may have found along the way. And then the third way, or excuse me, the fourth. The fourth way I like to read is as the reader again. Um, because for me specifically, write how I like to read. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't go. I don't want to say I don't go super deep into things, but I'm not going to create a symbolism so deep that people have to like really dig to find out what something may mean. Like I don't know if you guys took high school English, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When like a teacher would be like, "Oh, well, what does this mean? What does that?" Like sometimes stuff like that can be fun, but I think if you're just my novels are not something that you're gonna need to like deep dive and get into every nook and cranny. I think everything's pretty obvious. I don't spell everything out for you guys, but I think it's really important to make things clear to people because you're appealing to like a vast majority of people. It's not just one type of person. You can't just cater to every intellect in the world. That's just not how it works. Um, so yeah, I read how or I what? I read how I write. I write how I read. So yeah, the fourth time, and again, I want to address any questions that a different reader may have. Any type of anything that's missing. Make sure my stories are consistent. So I'm like, not like, oh wait, what? This time, because a lot of it is cleaned up, I'm able to actually like look at the story, and I'm able to actually see like, okay, like this goes with that and that goes with this, stuff like that. Um, so that's something I would definitely advise to edit at least 4 times. Make sure that it's a product that you're proud of, that you're happy with, even if you cannot like please everybody in the world. I'm sorry, not everybody in the world can be pleased. Um, and so at the end of the day, whenever you create this book, whenever you go over editing, continue to ask yourself, is this something that I'm happy with at the end of the day? Because that's what matters at the end of the day if you're doing it yourself. And let me see, what else do I do aside from editing that many times? Definitely be humble. Like, don't be annoying. Don't be one of those people who think like, oh, I know everything. Sometimes you don't. Like, usually when I edit, I spend a lot of time looking at the dictionary, synonyms for words. I also, because I don't want to use things too many times. Like, that's just weird. I look at Grammarly, make sure you know, things are formatted properly. I go through the editor on my actual computer. Um, what else do I do? Oh, I look at Pinterest. I look at Pinterest and I look for a substitution for certain words. So there's definitely you definitely have to understand there's no such thing as a perfect author. There's no such thing. There's no perfect editor. There's no perfect anything. Like that. Perfection does not exist. Um, Even in a novel that will be the most accredited, incredible novel, period, you'll still be able to find some mistakes because it's something that you don't feel should be happening in that novel. You know what I mean? So definitely still do that. I think if you're gonna edit yourself, you have to take the time to do the research at yourself. Um, Self publishing is really no joke. Like you can't just do it and just hope, you know. Sometimes I would even recommend having somebody else look over it as well because they're not only looking as a reader, they're also looking as an editor as well. Sometimes they have different ideas. Sometimes they come up with different things that you didn't even think of. Like, sorry, I'm like having my computer go from light to dark. Sometimes they think of things you would have never have thought of, and that's okay. Like you can absolutely humbly accept any feedback they have. Now, if you are a person who's going to give that feedback and be a beta reader for them or an editor, please be kind. Please be kind because this is our work. This is our writing is our baby. You know what I mean? Like, please be as kind as possible, but provide critical feedback. Provide something that's gonna make their novel even better than it already is. Don't don't be a douche just because you want to be one. Um, but yeah, that's really all that I would say. And definitely, like when you do want to do your editing, you want to sector out a specific amount of time because you have to give yourself breaks. I'm sorry. Like a lot of people like to edit through things. No, I gotta, at least for me, I have to take breaks because if I don't take breaks, then I just start to rush through it. And I don't want to rush through this. I want to feel like, okay, like I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. So definitely make sure that you schedule out like if you need like for me, for example, I'm taking a month to edit. A whole month. Like I just for that purpose because I want to make sure that I'm producing a quality kind of work and hopefully you guys feel that way too, but yeah, that's definitely something I would recommend. Definitely something I would recommend. Pace yourself. Everyone tells you not to. Please pace yourself. Please. um, and yeah, I think that's all I can really kind of think of when it comes to editing your work. Just if you're new at this, definitely make sure that you have someone to look over your stuff and don't be afraid of any outside sources. Take the time to research. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're editing. Properly. Make sure that you have the correct grammar, and edit those couple times so that you can kind of really understand what you're looking at. Yeah, that's really all the editing advice that I really have for you guys, and that's it.